I wanna see the world united, learn to live as one. I wanna see the world united, learn to live as one. I wanna see the world united, learn to live as one. Zala, que ya no estengeli na bato, bakufela bitumba. Zongisa, que ya no na mituna ya bato, bakufela nanzala. Zala, que ya no koki na bato, bakufela bitumba. Zongisa, que ya no estengeli na bato, bakufela nanzala. We have to bring the world together and learn to live as one. We have to bring the world together, learn to live as one. El instante lo que cuenta. Vive sonriendo hasta el final. Pero vendrán días de alegría que nadie puede creer. We have to bring the world together and learn to live as one. We have to bring the world together, learn to live as one.
זה הזמן להגיד, אנחנו לב אחד. השיר הזה הוא של כולנו, נשיר אותו.
Thank you, Komi, for the amazing music, and welcome everyone. We're going to be still waiting for everyone to join because I see people still are coming in. But welcome already to today's sessions on governance and sustainable development in the APAC region. We have two amazing speakers today, Eiji Oyamada and Sarah Qureshi. Thank you for hosting this session. And we have Minhyun Nguyen for moderating this session. Thank you to her for accepting the invitation as well. And initially, we wanted to go to the breakout rooms for us to quickly interact. But I guess if we see the numbers, we can also do it in the main room as well, because we always like to start with a little introduction, because as you know, we are trying to build this dynamic community in Catalyst. And we always love to create this momentum at the beginning of our sessions. So I will just quickly start by introducing myself. I'm Hira from the Systems Learning team at Catalyst 2030. And I've been involved with Catalyst for almost 2-3 years now. And I have a background in political sciences and migration studies. And super happy to be working with those amazing members that you see on screen. And I will pass it to Minyu for introducing herself.
Good evening. It's midnight now in New Zealand. So I'm Ming Hyo. I'm lecturer at Massey University. I focus on social entrepreneurship, and this is my first time joining an academic activities with Catalyst 2030. I'm a new member of Catalyst, so I'm a little bit nervous on my roles as moderator today, but it's really nice to meeting you all here, and it's an honor to meet all of you, especially Professor Ishra Qureshi and Professor Eiji Oyamada. I read your paper many times and many of your papers, so this is the first time I can meet you virtually, but it's a big honor for me. Very nice to meet you.
Who do you pass it to, Minyu?
Could I SK?
Yes, SK. We don't know the name exactly, but if you're there, it will be great if you can introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Not sure if he or
Oh,
can hear us.
yeah. Should you invite Cindy? Cindy Vagela?
Cindy, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I am Cindy. I'm also from the systems learning team. I've worked with Hira and Komi and also Debbie. I am also currently studying and I am based in Rome, Italy. So thank you everyone for joining and I hope you have a great session.
So what about you, Jose?
Me? Hi, good morning. Good morning from Madrid. I'm very glad to share with you this session, and thanks a lot for all the participants.
Thank you. And Komi, if you want to go next.
Yes, so my name is Komi. I'm originally from Vietnam, but I live in France, and I'm here to support everybody during the session. And I have background in intercultural management, and hope to shift my direction towards how to say sustainable development in the future, and especially project to support refugees and migrants here in Europe. So hope we have a great session today. Thank you.
And who do you pass it to? Maybe AG or Swear? Or maybe we can give the word to Minhyu to present you to both, and then she can give the word to you.
Yeah, Professor Eiji Oyamada is professor at Yoshida University in Kyoto. He's executive director of the Japanese Society for International Development. His research focuses on governance and development in developing countries and emerging economies. He used to work for United Nations and World Bank previously. So it's an honor to have you here today, Professor Eiji. Would you, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Min. So can I start my presentation?
Well, I would like to present the second presentators before we move on our next on presentation, so everybody knows that. And the second speaker of today's workshop is Professor Ishra Qureshi. My apologies, I don't pronounce it right. He's a professor of social entrepreneurship and information and communications technology for development and at the Australian National University. His research explores how social organizations leverage social intermediation, commons regeneration and management, and participatory development to ensure an optimal social temperature for the right amount of social entropy. So we're going to start with the presentation of Professor Eiji, and we have a short this Q&A session, and we move on the presentation of Professor Isha Qureshi. And then we're going to have the little Q&A session after that, and we have a discussion after all the two presentations. Yep, I hand it to you, Professor Eiji.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I share my presentation slides? Can you
Yes, we can see it.
Can you
Yeah,
okay.
we can see it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Eiichi Oyamada. Today, thank you very much for inviting me to this wonderful occasion. And today's topic is my recent concern, democracy states and international donors support for democratization in APEC region. Today's highlight would be, I would like to highlight the world at glance, democracy versus authoritarian, status of democracy and governance in APEC, APAC region, particularly in ASEAN region. I intentionally focused in ASEAN countries, and recent movement for international donors. Okay, according to VDEM report, the recent one, in the past 20 years, the number of countries democratizing has been decreasing, and at the same time, number of countries autocratizing has been increasing significantly, as you see this figures and table. And the world population living in autocracies in the past 20 years has been increased from 50% to 71%, and share of the world population living in autocratizing in countries from 7% to 35%. And quality of elections deteriorating is in the past 20 years, 11 to 23. And freedom of expression deteriorating is 10 to 35. And this is the in the past 10 years, how each items for democratization has been deteriorating. Compared with year 2030 and 2023, you can clearly see the difference between that many democratizing items, activities has been negatively implementing. Okay? And regional share of population by regime type, meaning that in case of East Asia and Pacific, 68% of the population goes to closed autocracy, which is at highest among other world regions. And only 9% of the population goes to liberal democracy, namely Australia, Japan, and Korea. And other countries are fall into closed autocracy countries and gray zones. This is a definition of closed autocracy, electoral autocracy, gray zone, and electoral democracy and liberal democracy. More you go, more democratizing process, liberal democracy is the sort of final destination. On the other hand, closed autocracy is the countries where democratizing elements are minimum. And when you look at the ASEAN countries, Laos and Myanmar fall into the closed autocracy country, and Cambodia, Singapore, Philippines, Thailand is electoral autocracy, and gray zone is in Indonesia and Malaysia. And electoral democracy is Timor-Leste, and Japan and Australia is liberal democracy. In the past few years, Cambodia, Indonesia, Myanmar, and Philippines are considered as substantial decline, meaning that these countries are moving backsides, democratic backsides. On the other hand, Thailand and Timor-Leste is making a progress towards democracy. And this is the ongoing period of democratization or autocratization. The blue one is democratization. You see not so many countries are being democratized in the past few years. At the same, on the other hand, the red color, you see many red colors, yeah, like red and the red. There are many countries being autocratizing. So status of APEC region, particularly East Asia and Pacific, 78% of the population is in autocracies and are denied some of or all democratic rights and freedoms. Closed autocracies such as China and Vietnam, electoral autocracies like Singapore and Philippines. Only 9% of the regional population live in liberal democracies are Australia and Japan. 13% of the population live in gray zone, electoral democracies where the uncertainty bounds overlap with a threshold for electoral autocracy. Indonesia and Malaysia are two prominent examples by 2023. Thailand moved from close to an electoral autocracy, while Malaysia moved from a gray zone electoral autocracy to a gray zone electoral democracy in 2023. This is the overall all 42 cases of ongoing autocratization countries, and we see some of many of the ASEAN countries are in it: Philippines, Cambodia, Indonesia, and Myanmar. These are the countries moving towards autocratization. Changing the topic a little bit, we have witnessed that the number of countries belong to BRICS has been increased by 10 countries. The new countries include Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, and the UAE. And they share nearly 30% of the world land surface and more than 40% of the global population. And now we cannot ignore these big countries anymore. And their power and the economic power and existence has been increasing year by year. On the other hand, OECD countries, G7 countries, the influence has been gradually reducing. When you look at the Asian states only, we are saying that there are 48 countries, which is 50% of the world population gathered. Full democratic countries are only South Korea, Japan, and few small countries. And the highest GDP in Asia is China. And China is also an Italian state. And the highest economy per capita is Singapore. Singapore is known as also Italian state. And I believe you know the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, Agenda 2030 is a global consensus, yeah. But when you look at when you read the report carefully, the word democracy does not appear, only one place or two. This is one of the sort of the things that we need to raise. But I think the one of the reason is the consideration for China, because China is also participating in Agenda 2030, and they are not sort of promoting democratization or democracy. So democratic backsliding, disease of democracy, democracy breakdown, authoritarian revival. These are the new sort of phrase that we have been using. And the OECD countries, this is developed countries, they are being pressured for promote more democratization. But on the other hand, emergency donors, China, Russia, Turkey, UAE, India, they have their own style of international cooperation, very much different from OECD countries. And the situation that we have been facing is erosion of a democratic institution, economic inequality and discontent, political polarization and fragmentation, media manipulation and disinformation, and weakening of civil society. OECD countries has been promoting democratization, freedom of speech, human rights, but what we have experienced is all this. So, democracy and governance support for development, classic way, does it no longer workable? OECD countries has been promoting democratization in the past 30, 40 years, mainly promotion of good governance, rule of law, and institutional reform. At the same time, emerging economies like China, Russia, India, all these countries, they are not making any conditionality for supporting developing countries. Their objective is let's make economic growth together. in order to do this, infrastructure development is very important. So we're going to assist you without any conditionality. So developing countries which share like 80% of this world population, they have a option whether they will be receiving support from OECD countries or emerging countries. No, which donor is better? Which donor is less noisy? Talking about conditionality, OECD countries always make conditionalities. No, election, human rights, freedom of speech, women's rights. This needs to be assured. No, otherwise we're not going to support you. This is a kind of conditionality. But on the other hand, emergency economies is as long as we enjoy economic growth, infrastructure seems to be priority. So let's do it together, kind of thing. So this is the situation that we have been facing. On the other hand, majority of 124 ODA, its official development assistance recipient countries and territories are classified as autocratic regime, meaning that the developed countries has been supporting more to autocratic regimes than before, from 68 to 75. Autocracies consume an increasing proportion of ODA flows from 64 in 2010 to 79% in 2019. Support to closed autocracies, strong increase in state building support is 193%. 19-fold increase in humanitarian aid over the 10 years period. This is the fact. Okay. So this is the country allocable ODA flows from all official donors of OECD donors. You can see the countries with like developing countries with liberal democracy, OECD countries' support has been decreasing, although liberal democracy countries suffering from poverty or low level of income needs more support. But on the other hand, OECD supports to electoral autocracy and the closed autocracy has been increasing significantly in the area of particularly public sector. Okay. I'm going to share this slide with you. So probably if you're interested, you can look at this report more. So I will not go into the detail because of time constraint. Yeah. Okay. So what are the elements for supporting democratization? And the principal democracy promotion can be considered as democratic participation in civil society, election, human rights, women's rights organization, media flow, and others. And this is the comparison between year 2010 and 2019. So you can see that more support to closed autocracy and electoral autocracy has been seen by OECD countries. In the area of supporting good governance, public sector policy and administrative management, legal and judicial development, public finance management, decentralization and support to subnational government and other elements are considered as governance support. This also, OECD countries has been expanding more support to closed autocracy and electoral autocracy countries than electoral democracy country. So role of international donor to support governance, democratization, and development to authoritarian regime. Traditional democratization assistance has limitation, such as institutional building, civil society organization support. New support measures to counter the rise of authoritarianism are being considered. Some of the key points can be we need to understand the political systems, informal politics, and power structures of partner countries. In the past 10 years, donor countries has been starting to consider a new approach for supporting authoritarian countries like US and USAID. The President Biden established the fight against corruption as a core US national security interest. Corruption issues is one of these the priority for promotion of governance. So US made a clear commitment. US strategy on countering corruption places the particular emphasis of better understanding and responding to the threat transitional dimensions, including by taking additional steps to reduce ability of corrupt actors to use the US and the international finance system to hide asset and launder the process for corrupt act. I just pick up USAID, one of the examples, so that you can get some idea. USAID Democracy and Governance Program in Authoritarian Setting, Issues and Evidence provide strategies for promoting democratic values in authoritarian regime. They are saying that the adaptive approach, such as supporting civil society, human rights, and leveraging technology while managing the risk and navigating government restriction to encourage gradual democratic reform and resilience. Political party assistance policy, this is also USA. They are saying that democratic political parties may also be xenophobic, exclusionary, and radically anti-American, involved in illegal practices, or otherwise act counter to US national security interests. So meaning that their policy to support needs to be changed compared with before. This is also another the report made by USAID, Decryptification Guide. It offers strategies for countries to combat kleptocracy by strengthening governance, promoting transparency, and reducing corruption. It emphasized the importance of building institutions, enforcing anti-corruption laws, and enhancing civil engagement to dismantle system of corruption, promote accountability. The other one is a practitioner's guide for anti-corruption programming. They are saying that avoid intervention that destabilize security or empower those in power is crucial. Programs with anti-corruption initiatives that could be misused by labor oligarchies, public campaigns lacking credibility, and reforms that increase elite insecurity. Strong hand options that worsens insecurity, reforms with weak ownership that squander opportunities, and civil society strategies until the risk of further destabilization succeed. Sorry, I'm going to finish in short. Yep, please be patient. There are many other reports being published just recently to counter authoritarian countries, but at the same time supporting authoritarian countries. U4 is the European anti-corruption think tank. They're saying that one must not forget that some opposition actors and civil society activities can be as corrupt as the elite in power and can use corruption to gain power. The incentive structure runs deep. Some actors and movements purportedly seeking democratic change may in fact seek only to overthrow and replace the incumbents and the ruling parties without changing the system in place. Okay, this is a similar one, but before, and many of this slide I used this report OECD by regime context. Okay, so I'm going to finish in a few slides, so please be patient. Change of governance and development strategy over 20 years, meaning that the World Bank is the one that proposed good governance, but reflecting in the past 20 and 30 years, they came out that recent governance support is not enough. So instead, three guiding principles were made for the thinking governance for development are form of institutions, but also about their functions, capacity building, but also about power asymmetries, rule of law, but also about law of law, meaning that more politics needs to be carefully considered when it comes to support. Okay, I'm going to skip this one. So this is going to be the final slide. When when aid agencies deal with financial crime, democracy, and development, how aid affect political aspect needs to be considered, such as power structure, incentive, and positive and negative impact on stakeholders with vested interest. Avoid expecting perfect outcomes and skillfully navigate domestic and international politics. This is also related to politicization of the development aid agenda. The assertion that the development aid agencies must understand that domestic political circumstances of recipient countries, consider the potential political impact of development aid, and sometimes compromise with the politically feasible second best outcome is gaining strength and will likely become entrenched practice. And thank you very much. And my apology for speaking too much, exceeding the time. And thank you very much again.
Thank you very much, Professor Aji. Actually, it's really interesting presentations. And then I am so surprised to see the numbers and then the trend of the democracy and autocracy in over the world in the APAC. And one of the question is would you mind to share a little bit more? Is why it seemed that the numbers showing that the area tend to be more autocracy rather than democracy, which is we expect to. Yeah, and the second questions that I'm curious is that there are two trends with OECD's donor and then emerging country donors. Then the receiver, which one do they prefer? Economic growth with minimum conditionality, or the other one? Yeah. Thank you.
You're asking me something? Sorry. I thought
Yeah, so
you're
I
making
asked
some comments.
the first question is like why the tendency of the countries in APAC tend to be more autocracy. As you see, it's almost 80%. Yeah, and then the second question is among the OECD donor and emerging countries donor. So they have a different conditions, like one just focus on economic growth, the other one need more condition. But then about the receiver, the one who receives the donations, which one do they prefer? The governments in general, just. Yeah.
Okay, I will go from second one. Yeah, generally speaking, recipient countries are sort of tired of listening democracy, human rights, freedom of press, and whenever they receive support, always conditionalities are with them. No, and on the other hand, we are saying that this is what we call Chinese model. Is that no conditionality, but they impose penalty instead. So this is very clear, and many African countries appreciate Chinese model because they actually make infrastructure development, and people enjoy from this. And human rights, disclosure policy, and election things, you cannot see visually the tangible result. So this is the sort of frustration that the recipient countries have, because they want to make a good relationship between OECD countries. At the same time, kind of noisy, for receiving, and they have not come out with tangible result in the past few decades. So this is one of the reasons why developing countries has option, no? And the easy option is that they just let work with China and new Russia and Turkey for emerging donors, so that they have a new sort of perspective and tangible result can be made easily. And the first question raised was that why are we going to the authoritarian direction? Is that this is the reason. One is erosion of democratic institution. Second one is economic inequality and discontent. Although international society promoted economic growth and democracy, it turned out to be widen the gap between rich and poor. And political polarization and fragmentation and media manipulation and disinformation, which like US Trump regime, we could see this kind of thing, yeah, and the weakening of civil society. These are the items that these are the things that promoted authoritarian regime from democracy regime. So this is what we call the democratization process, or meaning that there are many countries try to democratize, but go backward. No, so this is the donors' new concern. They like a Philippines is one of the typical example. They were one of the best good examples for being democratized for a long time. But once the leader has changed, they started to democratized. No? So OECD countries tried to stop this. That is why the number of countries and number of countries that OECD has been supporting to authoritarian countries has been increased, and the amount has been increased to stop this flow. Am I answering your question?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a really
you.
interesting. I'm so sorry that the time's quite limited, but then we can go back to the discussion later after the presentation of Professor Irash Kushi. So yeah, can you just, yeah, let's welcome Professor Irash Kushi.
Asrar, are you there? Yes.
Who's Irash? Yeah.
Thank you, Min, and thank you here for the invitation. After this very data-driven presentation, I will be focusing more on the conceptual part rather than the data part. Primarily built on our book on social entrepreneurship and Gandhian thoughts in post-COVID world. So insight drawn in this presentation is based out of this book. So if you're interested in this particular presentation, you can learn more from the book if you read it. Gandhian thoughts of systems leadership is rooted in his various proclamations, which are captured on, you can be on next slide, which are captured on the various course. You can be on next slide, please. So, so based on various proclamation of Gandhian thoughts in terms of system leadership, I will discuss in few slides after this about how we can link Gandhian thoughts to system leadership. If you can go to the next slide, please. A system leadership is defined by how a leader can encourage people to more adaptive and inclusive strategies, how they can engage with stakeholders at all levels, as well as align with ideas of decentralization and participatory governance. And as we see in the next slide, Gandhian philosophy in system leadership are rooted in fundamental concepts. One of those is constructive work. What it means is engaging the marginalized communities into some active programs where the basic needs of the community can be addressed using local resources. But then there's always a value-driven approach where your goal is to help the most marginalized through, as we will see in next slide, through trusteeship, where resource can be shared as a community resource, so something which we are familiar in terms of commons. So through the process of commoning, the shared resources are used by communities for their own benefit and resilience. We can also see, as in next slide, about how the idea of taking care of extremely marginalized people in the community can help everyone else. So once the programs are designed to take care of most marginalized in the community, the same programs can be then leveraged and bootstrapped to help others in the community. So as long as the programs are designed to take care of most marginalized, the community can become more resilient and self-sustainable. And the last, in fact, there are many other, but I will cover the fourth one. So the next slide shows about how development should be structured to help marginalized groups if we align the development activities, keeping village at the center. So village at the core of economic development, then the effect of oceanic circle helps other communities, so towns nearby. So if your villages are vibrant, people have disposable income to spend, they can spend that money in nearby town becomes more vibrant, and so on and so forth. So as per Gandhian idea of oceanic circle, village at the center of it, and then everything else is emerging from that strong core of village being self-sustainable. So we put all these ideas together, as in the next slide, on a framework which you can read in detail in the book. I won't be able to cover all those aspects here, but you can see on the extreme left are the core principle of Gandhian thoughts that manifest into various programs, which is in the second column. And then you can use various processes in those programs to help create resilient communities through community of care, peace communities, energy Swaraj, and self-reliant communities. Now, there has to be some catalyst. So sometimes community themselves not able to actually implement those projects and programs. So sometimes there has to be a catalyst, which can be social entrepreneur, which can be a social intermediary, could be a person who is familiar with these communities, can connect them to better opportunity and possibilities. I will describe in detail a small part of this framework in the next slide. So how do we rebuild a resilient community? To see at very basis, you have to identify something which is mutually beneficial to all the community members. Now, I'm fairly aware, and probably you are all also, I'm not romanticizing the villages and rural community. They are characterized by various divisions, various diversities. If you look for the village communities in India, there are gender issues, there are caste issues, there are class issues. So I'm not suggesting you can easily bring together communities for a cause. However, as all the communities, there are basic requirements where they are able to come together. So you have to identify those basic activities where you can create or identify mutually beneficial interdependencies. So for example, if you are in semi-arid area, if a village is located in semi-arid area, all community members suffering from shortage of water. So if you help community build a pond, there might still be access issues. There might still be caste-based issues or caste-based access to physical location of the pond. However, the invisible part of recharging of water helps everyone. So as water accumulates in the pond, it percolates inside and lift the water table for everyone. So even a small well for the marginalized community gets more water. A small hand pump for somebody who's poor also get more water. So indirectly, it does help every member in the community. So if you can create those kind of projects and plans where you can identify mutually beneficial interdependency, then you can use those kind of activities to evaluate various programs and design various programs. You can mix these activities with other activities where you identify surrounding elements around these mutually interdependent beneficial activities. And then you measure success of your program, not only how many people are helped, but how many mutually beneficial interventions has been created and be used in the programs. And then in the process, you may be able to observe more such interdependencies, which you can leverage to create newer programs. And this cycle continues over time. So this is how you can create, even where there's a diversity and discordance, you are able to create programs which can help everyone and then build from there on topward. So on the next slide, I'll provide some recommendation. But this is the gist of this framework. So recommendation is keep the focus on the most marginalized. If you are able to lift them up, the community themselves can become more vibrant and more resilient, more sustainable. Create mutually beneficial interdependence in the community so that they can, over time, learn to help each other, learn to support each other. And that means this community can be self-reliant, whether an outsider is there or not in going forward. It's very important to understand and adapt to local context, because each context is different, each community is different, each activity is unique. So if you are able to, as an intermediary, as an outsider, as a catalyst in the community, if you understand the local culture and context well, you are able to then create more sustainable programs and projects. Balance innovation and sustainability. So sometimes we are too much high on innovation. We think that we can bring lots of cutting edge technology, cutting edge programs. However, you might quickly realize the context you are working doesn't have those infrastructure to support those cutting edge programs. So it's better to bring simple, easy to learn, easy to use programs and tools where communities' local resources and their skills and their own knowledge can be leveraged. Those kind of programs and plans tend to be more successful, tend to be more sustainable, tend to be easily used and adapted, rather than the programs which are very complex, very costly, and very difficult to be used by local communities. Also, it's important to embrace the ethical responsibility and inclusive decision making for two reasons. As an outsider, as a catalyst going into a community, you're always going to have limited resources. And there would be various social groups, and many of them marginalized, will require your support. As an intermediary, you have to make a decision. How do you and whom do you support? Should you support the women who are more marginalized in these communities? Or should you support, in Indian context, people who are from marginalized caste? Given the limited resources, those ethical decision making has to be there. And whatever you decide, you have to have a very clear ethical and moral compass to be able to implement your projects. And here comes the idea of Antodaya, which is very helpful. So you need to identify who is the most marginalized in the community. And if you are helping them, one of your ethical quandary can be taken care of. But then, as you try to help the extremely marginalized group, there will be vested interest in the community who probably will not feel comfortable with your approach. And if you don't involve even them into decision making, they will make sure that your programs are sabotaged or failed. So while you are trying to help extremely marginalized, it's important to be inclusive in decision making, engaging every group in the community to understand why this program is being implemented, why you are starting with most marginalized, and how you will be able to scale it up to include everybody else in future. And finally, fostering partnership across sectors for systemic impact. No amount of effort, which is very local, can stand on its own. So ultimately, you will have to create connections, linkages, bridges, so that this initiative can prosper, can sustain on its own over time. So it's very important to create very mutually beneficial partnerships, bridges and linkages, so that eventually when you are gone from the place, the project itself can sustain in future. And finally, in the next slide, I'll provide some conclusion from this this research. This has been a very long process. We have been working for almost 2 decades now in various different communities. And whatever I'm presenting here, it's not only my work, but it's a work of a team. And what we're trying here to understand through Gandhian lens, how we can, as a social entrepreneur, as a catalyst, keep our moral compass right aligned, keep our focus on the primary goal of helping most marginalized people, and how we can not only simply look at it as a one problem at a time, but as a systems problem and able to address at the systems level. And doing so not through only resource provision approach, but doing it through more ethical stewardship of helping grassroots empowerment, as well as creating innovative solution for marginalized. So in a nutshell, as a social entrepreneur, as a catalyst, be the change you wish to see in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Ishaq Qureshi. Let's welcome the questions from audience. Yeah. I see a comment on the chat box. Jose said, "Great to see Gandhian thoughts are still alive." Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
Thank you, Jose.
Yes. Yeah, I am. It is really interesting talking about system leadership, and one of the things that it's just my thought, reflections I'm seeing here. You're talking about you need to focus on marginalized group, and then the point somewhere I read they said the social entrepreneur are the one who understand the pain of the community, and they try to work toward the pain of the communities, and then include people like a partner with the community, rather than it's like you coming and you help them. It's not like that way. The social entrepreneur who are the one who willing to partner with the one they don't say that we help the community. We said we do it together. So is it somewhere? Do you think it fits somewhere with the idea of inclusive decision making, or focus on marginalized?
So if I understood correctly, you asked me the role of catalyst or intermediary in terms of inclusive decision making. Yeah, so
Right.
it's you probably all of you are very experienced in this domain. Many times, and especially those are very business school oriented people, those who are MBA grads, they think they have all the solutions, they have all the models, they have all the framework, they can go into community and simply apply these models to help them solve the problem. Sometimes the arrogance is too strong in the terms when this intern MBA who are doing internship at top NGOs. On the very first day, they start giving lecture to the founder of these NGOs who must have spent 30, 40 years in this domain, which is very problematic. So we had to move away from this thinking. We had to go to community to understand what knowledge this community has, what resources they have, what they can themselves co-create along with other community members. As a catalyst, and the word catalyst is very important because catalyst as a chemistry term is for an ion which helps speed up the reaction, but actually doesn't get involved into reaction, doesn't become part of the reaction, doesn't become part of new compound or new molecule. And this is very important. As a catalyst, you should remember that you are there to really catalyze the activities on the ground rather than becoming part of it and trying to take full ownership of it. No, you are there to help them rather than trying to involve yourself in terms of resource and ideas. So I think as long as we are able to encourage people to solve their own problems using local resources, those kind of solution can sustain for longer term compared to solution we provide to them.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's really insightful. I see a question in the chat. Can you please talk more about leverage techno-phasing to bridge digital devices? I think devices in rural area, right?
Yeah. So techno-phasing is a term we proposed in one of the editorial in 2021 in ISJ and then subsequently used in multiple different studies. What it means in brief is trying to use just good enough technology to address the problem at hand, rather than thinking of using cutting edge technology. And as I briefly mentioned, say, for example, increasingly technological vendors or technological driven organization think that there is a technological solution to every problem in the rural community, which is never the case. Many of the solutions are non-technological, can be very simple. But even when technology is required, if you have choice of using 3 different ways of solving a technological problem, you should use the one which use the bare minimum technology which can be used by the people. So if you take very advanced solution to people, they lack skill. There is not enough local knowledge to maintain that kind of application. It will be very costly, and it will require continuous upgradation in the community, and all of which are very difficult to sustain. On the other hand, if you take a simple solution, people can manage themselves, then those solutions likely to last longer. For example, if you can solve a problem using WhatsApp chat to connect to people, you don't require a dedicated platform implementation in the community because it's difficult to maintain. So if you can solve a problem through WhatsApp chat creation, please use that simpler solution than using a complex and complicated solution.
Yeah, thank you very much. There's another question from Mr. Jose from Transformando. He asks, social entrepreneurs can be also excluded people. What is your experience in this issue?
If I have understood correctly, you are saying our excluded people can themselves be social entrepreneurs. Is that the correct way of capturing your question? You can unmute.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yes. This is because you said that we have to work with the most excluded people. That I mostly agree, but in some cases it is difficult to find social entrepreneurs with this profile because maybe they are in a very weak situation. So maybe it's difficult. But I don't know if you have experience of meeting this profile of social entrepreneur, social innovator, but also in a very excluded situation.
True. So I think we academics and we have made social entrepreneur is very glamorous thing. So people write on their CV and they go to win the awards. But in my experience, many of the social entrepreneurs who actually work on ground actually come from a marginalized community themselves. They don't show up in the World Economic Forum. They don't show up in the big platform, but they are working at the grassroots level solving these problems. So many of these people, they don't even know they are social entrepreneurs. They don't label themselves social entrepreneurs. But most of the problem being solved by extremely marginalized communities are being solved by one among them who had a vision to use local resources to address some problems. They don't show up in our radar. They don't show up in our various magazines. But I would probably say more than half are the people who are from marginalized communities themselves, trying to address their problem of their own community using their local resources. So yes, there are people who are from extremely marginalized contexts who are also social entrepreneurs.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Isha. There's questions from Geoffrey to Professor, I think, Iji. He asked, most APAC partnerships and donations for developing countries are directly to governments, indirectly aims at taking back the donated funds through contract awarded. Why are such donations not offered to community-based organizations? Yes, that's from Geoffrey from Uganda.
Okay. Thank you for the question. I think there are many types of contract. Yeah. What you're talking about, what Geoffrey is talking about, is the probably government to government contract. If so, I think in Japan, for example, when we have an international cooperation, basic contract is government to government, and we have a basic understanding that we should not interfere partners' government how the money is to be used, meaning that the partner government is the one to make a final decision for which community the fund is allocated, and how civil society organization is to be used. And we are saying that civil society is a dot, no? Dot. So there are many dots in many countries for doing community services and civil society activities. But how can it be connected and become larger is the agenda, because each civil society has their objective, but the accountability mechanism is a bit different from government. Accountability mechanism, are they accountable to people or accountable to donors? So based on this, the support to community services, community-based organization is different. And let me share some of the screen. Sorry, my English is just destroyed. This is the. Can you see the screen? A new screen. Okay. This is the trend and the changes of the triangle shape. How the power balance has been changed. Up to 1984, the government was very strong, and 84 to 94. Company and government becoming sort of stronger, and after 1995, NGO, civil society organizations activities are more active and recognized. Okay, and according to United Nations, like 20, 30 years ago, this is the best model. No? Government, business, and civil society, they collaborate each other so that balancing activities can be made available. But reality is like this, Japan is like this. Government is stronger than business, but they collaborate each other. We do have many civil society, but their power is minimum, and they do not work with business sector. In case of China and Russia, government merge business and civil society activities only one way. They only approve the civil society which is supporting to government, not anti-government. In case of USA, government business is larger than government in terms of power, and civil society is very active, and their influence is very good, and they collaborate each other. So in many developing countries, normally government is very strong, and civil society is not strong. Business is so-so, but they work together. But civil society and business did not work together. And many developing the countries has another option is like this: government is too strong, and the business is inside of government, and the civil society is only government is instructing one way. So depend on the country. First of all, you need to know which kind of country you are in, and we cannot. From a donor's aspect, we cannot support the same style as the if the country's shape is different. We have to always think about how politics works and how the civil society's freedom is all about. No, and now this can be one of the solution between central and regional government. We put the local government inside so that the more active transactions can be made available. Yeah. So I'm not too sure if I answered your question, but this is one sort of the information
very
that
much.
I can share. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much. It's really interesting, and what I learned, I think a big umbrella cover both presentations that we all talk about SDG 17. That's how we do partnership, right? That's my personal reflection. I wish that we have a more time to discuss further on both topics, which is really interesting. However, I think I need to hand over to Hira. Before it, I would like to say thank you to Professor Ishao Kirshi and Professor Ishao Eiji Oyamada. I'm sorry for my pronunciation. And yeah, it's great to have you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Israr and Eiji, and Minyu to you as well. It was really eye-opening, and like Minyu said, with different perspectives on different things. I think we had a great session. And as you know, it was a session of the APAC Academic Hub at Catalyst 2030. So if you're interested and if you're already a member, I'm sharing the links on the chat about the academic hubs. And then we'll show how you can join those to meet with those amazing academics and educators, like-minded members like yours, and join the hub for gathering them with them more often. So if you go to our website, you know you have the member portal here. And if you're a member, you already have the credentials to log in. And after you log in, you can go to the your profile, and here on the right, you can find Explore Collaborations part. And if you go there, you can see all of our collaborations, and you can filter them with names, with regions and everything. Like, let me just, I'm not here. If you can click this, and here in the search part, if you write APAC, you're gonna see the APAC Academic Hub. And if you click, you're gonna be able to see here, you're gonna see join option, and you're gonna click this. I'm already a member. And if you click the join option, we're gonna be receiving a notification and confirm your membership to the Academic Hub. And then you're gonna be able to see all the members, all the universities that we work with, all the members that we work with from the APAC region, especially the academics that we work with in the region. So, and I know we have people who are not members yet as well. So to be able to meet with those like-minded people more often, you can also click those links and become a member. And thank you everyone for joining today. Israr, AJ, thank you for your time, and thank you everyone for participating. So we just want to have your opinion for a minute or two. Let me just launch the poll. If you can just edit the poll before you're leaving, it will be amazing. And while you do that, if Komi, we can move to the next slide. I think we can share the upcoming learning session and the learning session, which is the last one of the year, about the foundation of impact, theory of change, and logic models. It's going to be next week, and I'm sharing the registration link in the chat as well. We'll be happy to see you there as well. Yes, and thank you for answering the poll, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good afternoon. Bye.
Bye-bye.